to protect children both within the tourism development area and in communities against sexual exploitation. The workshop, which is sponsored by ECPAT Netherlands, is also meant to sensitize partners and stakeholders on the Gambia's Tourism Offences Act 2003. Jallo has the details.
Was convened to raise awareness on the Tourism Offences Act of 2003, advancing endeavors to protect children from all forms of sexual exploitation. At the core of child protection efforts, the Child Protection Alliance National Coordinator Njundu Drame, who hailed governments on stopping endeavors to halt all forms of child abuse, also told the forum that children, as the single most important asset for the future, ought to be stoutly preserved.
Developing and having a manual in place to educate people, to train stakeholders and ensure that they know what to do and how to prevent child sex tourism. The radio programs, the tourists that Mr. Kebe has on the radio, and all the many efforts of the Gambia Tourism Board, a clear testimony that they and the government are prepared, are ready to ensure that children are protected from abuse and exploitation in tourism and out of tourism.
His outlook towards child protection was accentuated by the station officer of the Tourism Security Unit, who has this to say.
We honor our young ones, so we don't want other people to abuse them, because if you look, they are our future leaders. So we don't allow other people to destroy them with our own eyes. So that's what we are fighting for. Whoever comes as a culprit, we will make sure the law takes its course.
As constantly staying ahead of child abusers could be somewhat challenging, Gambia Tourism Board's Usman Kebe details the problems they persistently encounter.
Child protection has not been easy, but we have been in it together. And may I, on behalf of the Gambia Tourism Board, commend the Child Protection Alliance for tirelessly moving up and down the country, the Gambia, to share with the rest of the Gambian people how to protect our children.
The public relations officer of the official tourism guides also highlighted the need for communities to be tirelessly vigilant against child sexual abuse as perpetrators shift off from the tourism development area to the inner city and townships amid security improvements.
We can give what we learned to the society, as children are not only abused within the tourist industry, they are also abused in our homes, they are abused in our hamlets, they are abused in our localities, they are abused in our residence. So we as guides who goes out with tourists to the local people also have the cause to sensitize our communities, to sensitize the local people, also the dangers that are associated with child abuse.
Children are the best hope for the future. The Tourism Offences Act is designed to protect them from all sorts of abuse and exploitation by imposing imprisonment and heavy fines on child sex abusers. But while many installing this menace means collective efforts getting everyone involved in combating a big hazard robbing children of their future. Jallo, GRTS.
When we come back after the break, we will look at ongoing diplomatic efforts to prevent an escalation of the crisis in the Korean Peninsula as the war of words continues. Please stay with us if you can. Welcome back. A week of critical diplomacy is set to begin on how to deal with North Korea and its nuclear ambition. CNN's Jim Clancy is in the South Korean capital Seoul and reports that a high-level Chinese official is set to travel to Washington to hold talks with U.S. counterparts. South Korea's foreign minister is also expected to travel to Beijing, North Korea's main ally in the region. More in this report.
Korea's response to the call for diplomacy has been blustery at best. It demands the world recognize its nuclear and ballistic missile programs as its sovereign right in exchange for even sitting down to talk.
Kim Jong-un probably feeling very insecure and very unstable, and that the more unstable and more insecure it feels, the more the need to hold on to, cling on to this ultimate weapon of destruction, nuclear weapons, because this is the only thing that could ensure the continuation of the Kim dynasty.
The West hopes Kim Jong-un's weeks-long propaganda outburst will cause China to make a fundamental shift in its support for Pyongyang. That may be answered in a series of meetings in China and Washington this week.
If any country in the world has some leverage in dealing with North Korea, and maybe to the point where North Korea will be forced to actually give up, contemplate giving up on its nuclear weapons,
Beijing's interest will be its own. It's about what China wants: economic stability in Northeast Asia and a non-nuclear Korean peninsula on its doorstep. Beijing doesn't like the pressure and thinks Washington could do more.
The Chinese are very keen to just get back to any kind of talks. I mean, in fact, the Chinese regularly tell me if Obama would just pick up the phone and talk to Kim Jong-un, we could solve this whole thing.
All parties know North Korea is vulnerable. It desperately needs a good harvest to feed its 25 million people, including millions who may be on the brink of starvation. That's why Beijing won't ratchet up the pressure.
The Chinese don't want to cause a regime collapse. That's their #1 nightmare scenario, really. So by cutting off aid to that extent, they would essentially be bringing on the one thing that they're trying most to avoid.
In coming days, North Korea's military will rest service in their tens or even hundreds of thousands to help with spring planting. Meantime, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of South Koreans are also turning out, but they're not the military. They have come out to mark the Spring or Cherry Blossom Festival here in the capital city of Seoul. People here are tired of Pyongyang's threats. For them, talks for the sake of talks are a waste of time. South Korean President Park Geun-hye has warned as much. But what would take the place of the six-party formula? And who can convince North Korea to change course?
To Italy now, people are wondering whether an 87-year-old man can break the political deadlock that threatens to paralyze the country. That man is Giorgio Napolitano, and he was re-elected on Saturday for a second term as president after Italy's warring parties failed to find a successor. As we hear in this report by Deutsche Welle's Lena Bodash, it was an outcome no one anticipated.
Eletto Presidente della Repubblica Giorgio Napolitano.
It was an outcome that no one anticipated a few days ago. Italian President Giorgio Napolitano was re-elected by the country's parliament after lawmakers failed to agree on any other candidate. Napolitano must now again try to overcome Italy's political gridlock. It's proved insurmountable since elections failed to produce a clear winner in February.
We must all look at the difficult situation of the country, at the problems of Italy and Italians, and at our international image and the role of the nation.
On the streets outside Parliament, people came to protest against the result. For many Italians, it shows the political old guard still rules the roost. Others saw Napolitano's age as a problem. He'll be 94 when he completes his second term.
I think it was the worst possible choice because Napolitano is not capable of healing the fractures between the parties or turning the country around.
Napolitano was asked to return for an unprecedented second term after 5 rounds of voting failed to produce a successor. He easily secured the simple majority needed from lawmakers. The president will again face the task of trying to bring Italy's divided politicians together. Without an agreement, the country could be facing